Do plants feel pain? This is a question I've had about the world since I was a child, and I thought I was gonna just do a quick boopity-boop little research project, and I'm now a month and a half deep into it, and I've read 2 books about it, and I'm losing my mind. I'm gonna try and take everything that I've learned about plants and their experience of the world, I guess, and distill that down into a quick and easy answer on, do plants feel pain? So if you Google this question, what you'll probably come across is just a straightforward no. And the reason that that's an appealing answer is mostly for comparative reasons. We know how we feel pain, right? Like we have tactile receptors called nociceptors that send signals to your central nervous system. Your central nervous system sends that to your brain. Your brain goes, ow, we stepped on a Lego. That's your conscious experience. And then you move on with your life, hopefully. Now, plants don't necessarily have a central nervous system. They have stuff that's similar to it. Here's where it starts getting interesting. They do have tactile receptors, right? Like you can touch a plant and it will respond. A simple example of this is the Venus flytrap. If you've ever stuck your finger in one and it tries to eat you and you say, no thank you, Craig, I'm not food. I don't know why you would name your Venus flytrap Craig, but that's a personal choice. But there's also a really cool plant that I learned about doing research for this video called Mimosca pudica, which is like the sensitive plant or a touch-me-not plant. It folds up its leaves when something touches it, and it's got a really fast reaction time. It's only like 1 to 2 seconds, which is fast for a plant. People are a lot faster with our electrical impulses. In 2014, a group of researchers actually took these sensitive plants and dropped water on them, and then they brushed them with their fingers. And there was actually some sort of evidence to suggest that Mimosca pudica is capable of like learning the difference between like harmless and harmful touch over time. And it was like remembering what the water droplets were and not closing its leaves for those, but when you would like brush it with its finger, it would be like, don't eat me, please. In the case of the sensitive plant specifically, this seems to be an adaptation to avoid being eaten. Plants have all sorts of adaptations to avoid being eaten. Most plants, when you start eating them, they'll release compounds to make themselves bitter, less tasty. They'll pull nutrients down to the roots or closer to the base of the plant. And some plants will even send pheromones out to other plants to tell them to do the same, like pull your resources in, make yourself less tasty. I even found out there's like a species of corn plant that sends out a pheromone specifically to attract wasps, so that the wasps eat the insects that are eating the corn plant. It's like calling in reinforcements for your plant army. That's sick! And also, in terms of like plants being able to process, like ramp up defenses, there's a good bit of evidence that shows that plants can like hear. A group of researchers took a soundbite of a caterpillar like chewing on leaves, and then they studied the like chemical responses in the plants to see if they were like ramping up defenses or anything, and most of them were. Also played like wind sounds and insects like calls and things, and the plants didn't respond to those, showing that they were like differentiating the difference between insect calls and wind and like harmful noises like caterpillars are actively eating me. When we talk about like the sensitivity levels of this touch, a really cool bit of research that was done showing caterpillars like walking on the surface of a plant and the plant being able to feel individual little legs of the caterpillar crawling on it. Like it's amazingly complex. So let's come back to that scientific answer of just a straight up no that you probably get if you Googled this question. And then let's compare that to like the definition of pain. The definition of pain, I'm looking at it right now, is an unpleasant sensory or emotional experience associated with or resembling actual or potential tissue damage. When I look at this from like a linguistics perspective, plants are doing things to avoid being eaten. They're like ramping up their defenses. They clearly don't like this, and they're perceiving touch. Like, what part of that definition does not match? And the answer is the experience part. So this is where the line between philosophy and science starts to get a little bit blurry. We essentially have to ask, are plants conscious? And the way that we answer that looks at the systems. Humans think that consciousness requires a brain, so therefore like plants aren't conscious, but yet they're like learning and they communicate with each other in these underground mycorrhizal networks. Some people even call this the like wood wide web, where all the trees communicate under the ground via fungal hyphae. It's really cool to get into. Here's where I think the problem comes in. Both of these books kind of informed me that this was sort of a failing of biological science, is the sort of guilty until proven innocent model that we have on consciousness. We don't assign things agency until it is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have agency. If we take human beings from an outsider's perspective, there is nothing that we know of that says that we are having a conscious experience beyond our own experience, right? We don't know what consciousness is. There are some good theories about how it arises, but we don't know how it happens to us. Just like there is no proof that plants are conscious, there isn't really proof that plants aren't conscious. So then when we take this perspective of like we're conscious but nothing else is until it's proven, it's kind of unfair. And so then is it fair to push that out onto plants, that they don't have a conscious experience? And this is where it kind of gets a little bit trickier to answer the question, because it's, should we answer the question and be really cold and just wait to be proved wrong, or should we give the world like more animacy maybe than it should have credit for? My college anatomy professor actually paraphrased this really nicely. The worst thing that happens when you give animacy to the world is you personify a chair, and kind of the worst thing that happens when you strip animacy from the world is it's like way easier to do ecological harm, it's way easier to do social harms. Maybe we should take the stance that plants are conscious, and in that case maybe plants are feeling pain. One of the best arguments I heard that plants like absolutely don't feel pain is that in the situation of a plant it wouldn't be a particularly useful skill. One of the reasons we feel pain is say ouch and then get away from the Lego you just stepped on the floor, versus plants can't move, right? Like plants can't get up and walk, they can't avoid the pain, and so they would just kind of be suffering and not being able to do anything about it, and that's the biggest reason why we don't think that plants can currently feel pain. If you leave this video with anything, I want you to leave this video with the idea that the world is vastly more complex and more animate than we give it credit for. Taking away agency from the world that may have it is not a good scientific practice. It's actually one that will do vastly more harm than good. And anyway, that's it. So if you like this video, I'm going to hopefully be back either next week or the week after with another one, and I'll see you guys all later. Bye!